Do we have sound here? Yes, we do. Okay, great. Woo. I'm a mess. My appearance is dirty today. I haven't showered today. It's Labor Day. It's been a long weekend. And yeah, that's what we're doing today. I don't know how many people are going to have tuned in. It is the holiday today. A lot of people probably aren't thinking about watching, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to give you an update, so if you're watching in the replay, feel free to say hi and a like. I'm going to cut this music here. I'm going to take this music down. Here we go. Hi, guys. Lynn here. If it's your first time watching, hello. Thanks for hopping on today. I'm going to do an update. It's kind of a follow-up to last week's live stream where, well, it was a really big discussion on whether or not we were going to take in two sisters, teenagers. Hi, Amy. Thanks for saying hi. I'm going to also, I have to pull up some comments just in case people are watching live, and then I can put them up on the screen. I feel like my sound's a little weird today. Do you guys mind seeing my microphone in the shot today? How fun was this? I'm going to do this. We're going to see if this is a better quality sound type of thing. Alrighty. I won't lie. I'm not myself today. I'm gonna kind of give you an update about a lot of things. One is obviously what you wanted to hear as a follow-up from last week about the girls, and then there was something big that happened with our fostering story the same day, which I'll touch on. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with that, but it is part of the story, so I'm going to include it. And then I'm going to talk about kind of what I've been up to this weekend, and just kind of, it was rough, to be honest. All right, almost done getting our comments here. Thanks for hanging in there with me for a sec. Oh my gosh. Did I mess anything up? Oh, no, I did not. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we've got a few people watching. Thank you so much. So we've got oh, hey Christy, how's it going? Christy's here, my sister-in-law. It's Dad saying that my mic looks strange in the picture. All right, I'll put it back down here. There we go. Thanks for the tip. Marcus, hello. Thanks for being here. And I know that my mom, sister, dad, and brother-in-law are watching all from one place, so I think all those comments might be coming through here. Oh, I guess mom has signed in too, so thanks, guys. Thank you. It's a family affair here today. We have we had a rough week. We had a really rough week from the day that we got the call about taking in the teenage girls all the way until the day that we made a decision. We were having really heavy conversations. Those conversations added up. You know, they were I don't know, it was just such a heavy decision that we had to talk about things that we haven't talked about before. We had to face some things that I've never thought about before, which in the kind of in the genre of race and culture. And so I'm going to touch on that today. And I've tried to explain this to a few people, and the reaction that I've heard from people, it hasn't been very reassuring that it comes out well. So I want to let you know ahead of time, like this might be a little rough. And hi, Wyatt. Hi. That's my nephew. Hi, Wyatt. Thanks for watching, buddy. So here's the deal. We live in a neighborhood that is heavily Hispanic. It's a bit mixed, but where we are, the schools that we are I think it's like 80% Hispanic. When we started looking into schools and where we would send the girls, we learned a lot about Chicago public schools. We learned about charter schools. We learned about magnet schools. It is not how it was when Bert and I grew up in the suburbs. He grew up in the suburbs in Minnesota, and I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. There's the public school or the Catholic school. You go to the one that, you're either going to public school or you're going to a private school. There's not all these other like these, tech schools and college prep and magnet and charter and all these other things. So we learned, when we were considering taking in a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, we're looking at 8th grade and a sophomore in high school. And we have to figure out, okay, well, where are we going to enroll them in school, and is it a good fit for them? And we felt with the high school near us, right, the obvious, like, large public school that's by us, there wasn't a shooting in the school, but there was a shooting outside of the school just within the week that we got the call. And that was a little, jarring. It was a little like a bit of a wake-up call. It actually is kind of what made us realize what the race makeup there is. Now, again, we have nothing, like, there's nothing wrong with it being a Hispanic neighborhood. We're comfortable where we live. We don't feel like we're the only white people here or anything like that. But the thing about it is, if we're taking African American girls, and I don't think that I shared that last week, there's a certain amount of information, we're not really supposed to, be talking about all that, but we didn't take them. Obviously, there's no names and there's nothing to tie them to anymore. But they were African American. With that in mind, we wanted to make sure that we weren't, plucking them from an African American community and then all of a sudden they're being raised by 2 white parents in a Hispanic neighborhood. So therefore, possibly adding to their what's already being very hard for them, being taken away from people that they know. That was, if I had to put everything into a nutshell, that's kind of what it came down to. It's not that we didn't feel capable, but we did spend a lot of time thinking about if this is a long-term placement and we are preparing these girls to go into the world as, being prepared for what's unfortunately a very divided society, a racist society. And unfortunately the truth of the matter is that, people of color are treated differently. They are. How can we, as white privileged parents, really be there to prepare them for that? Now, lots of white parents, raise and do a great job, having mixed children or black children or adopting or whatever it may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I went down a rabbit hole reading articles from children who were of color raised by white parents. And there was a very strong theme throughout all of them, which is that the white parents were not really preparing them for how, for them being on their own and really what the world was going to be like. The white privilege of white parents does not pass down to their children if they're not white. That's unfortunately how it is. And that's how a lot of these articles I was reading, the experience of the child was, that they felt that their white parents expected that white privilege to pass down to them. Okay. It's not how it works. And I also learned about the talk, which is what parents have to have when their kids get to a certain age about what happens if they have an encounter with the police. And you guys, I seriously, we hear these stories, we hear this, we see it on TV, we see it in movies, shows and everything. It's real. It's a real thing. And we can have that talk, we know to have that talk if we were to have, kids of that age, and have that talk. But as a long-term placement, Bert and I really felt that the girls would probably be better off with non-white foster parents. We don't make it to say that decision. All we could say is we don't think we're the best fit. I know we would have done a great job. I know that we would have done everything we possibly can to learn and to teach and to, really get in there and be the best that we can, but we can never do it from a place of experience. Okay. So I hope I said it in a way that it is that, I don't know. Tell me what you think, of all this. It's a really tough thing to talk about. I'm kind of stumbling through it, but it was really, really heavy stuff to be thinking and considering about these things. And we had guilt. horrible, horrible guilt after we made the call and said no. So I had asked the caseworker if I could give her a decision by, I believe it was Wednesday morning, if I'm not getting my days mixed up too bad, last week. And she said, yeah, that's fine. But she wanted to know which way we were leaning. And we said, we were leaning towards yes. But we wouldn't be able to take them until Labor Day, which is today. And she said, well, I've got Labor Day off, but I could do Tuesday. She even started to make arrangements before we said yes, which made it even harder when I had to tell her our final decision was no. So, thank you guys. I'm seeing your comments, Marcus, here for you. And it is all the things that we had to think about. So I appreciate it. And Amy, thank you for saying, you get it. It has been a very, really stressful, full of a lot of guilt, for this whole thing. We signed up, to take care of kids no matter what. We know that we're a better place than other situations, right? If they're being neglected or not taken care of properly or treated poorly, of course, we're going to give them a better place. But someone else out there can give them an even better experience, from a cultural standpoint, okay? Thank you guys. Thank you so much for being so supportive. Honestly, I'm not sure how I was going to say all this today because I've been thinking about it from the moment that I said no. I've been practicing on other people, that in my life that are close to me, saying it to them and seeing if it comes out right. But thank you. Thank you, Marcus, for saying that. I appreciate it. Oh, Kristen, thank you so much. Christy, okay, you guys are great. You're making me feel a little bit better about all this. I reached out to, so first of all, we were surrounded not only by all of your support last Monday, I felt very encouraged by everything, and you guys are so open-minded and helpful and everything. And obviously that information I'm sharing with you today, it wasn't included last week. That wasn't part of the things that you and I, were bringing into the consideration, the pros, the cons, and all the deepness of it. But there were other people in my life that I did share that information with, including our foster parent advocate. And I also reached out to one of my close friends who's Black and asked him, hey, this is a situation. What do you think? And, that friend said, you guys would be great. You would do fine. However, if you're going to take a long-term placement, do you want it to be something that is a better fit? And when it was put that way, it made me realize, yeah, what, maybe if we're going to commit to something long-term, let's actually make sure it's a good fit both ways. Okay. So this is a great question. So I think what you said is all valid. Do you have any idea of what % of foster kids needing placement are African American? Might this be a problem that continues? So thanks for asking. I don't know. I don't have a percentage. There are children of all colors that need foster placement. And there's no way to predict, who it'll be. I don't actually know even all the calls that we take. Sometimes I haven't even asked what their race is. I'm trying to think if I had any that I knew for sure weren't African American. Now I've heard tons of other stories, that they're not, or Hispanic, they're something like, any other, yes, it is all kinds of races. And yes, this will continue to be a problem if we get calls for older kids that are African American. We might have the same considerations for them and say we don't think that we're the best fit if it's going to be a long-term placement. Now, caveat is that if it's a short-term placement, we are here, to help them for X amount of time. We're not the ones that are releasing them into the wild of, civilization, when they turn 18. If we know that we've got, it's only going to be 6 months or a year, and then they're going to go home to their parents who then can prepare them for that. That is a little bit, I think, more easy for us to accept. Yes, we can do it on a short-term basis. Obviously, things don't always go as planned, and it could end up being a long-term one. But I think a big part of this decision, in this case, was that it was intended to be a long-term placement, possibly until they're completely out of the system. We did not want to take them in and then have to disrupt sending them away because we didn't feel we were a good fit for them. We want them to be hopefully in the right fit where they can stay. Who knows if that happens? The only thing we can do is say no and hope for the best. Again, that's where the guilt comes in because we don't know if that's what happened. There's no way for us to find out either. So the segue part here is that that morning when I said no and we were feeling horrible about it all day long, that night, it was about 9:30 at night, we got another call. just our luck, right? This time it was for siblings 4 and 5 years old. Now, I believe I've been telling you guys all this time that we are licensed from 4-year-old to 11-year-old. Now, maybe it's 5 to 11 that I've mentioned, but I, in my head, had it as 4. So when we got a call for 4 and 5-year-old, well, that's the total opposite of teenagers. And, they're not telling me it's supposed to be a long-term placement, and they just need somewhere right now for them. So it's like a yes or no, we need an answer. Bert and I, our house is set up for little kids. This is, for that age range. They're in the age range that we had preferred. And Bert and I said yes. Okay, but before you get excited here, remember that for the past week leading up to that day, we had been intensely talking about this and considering our decisions, as foster parents and our future and our lives and what all the changes that would happen, by taking them in. That it is a lot of stuff that we were carrying, like put like, 100 pounds in a backpack, put that on your back. And that's what it felt like. But we weren't feeling it until the moment after we hung up and we're like, oh shit, we're about to have kids in this house and we are emotionally drained. Our cups are not ready to be filled with, a whole bunch of, children in our house. I did not say that well. On top of that, I have, the past 4 days been working an event on the beach nonstop. And Bert had plans to go out of town. So all of a sudden, all that would be interrupted. I would need to call my boss and say, hey, I'm going to need help on this event. I can't manage it anymore by myself. Bert would cancel his travel plans, which our friends would totally understand. But we would be all of a sudden adding on top of, the emotional journey we were on, all of a sudden a new routine and a new stress of like, what are these kids going to be like? And hey, we have to put them in school. We have to take them to the doctor. We have to do all the things that we're supposed to do when you get a new placement. So we had a little bit of a change of heart pretty quickly. So I called, and so our foster parent advocate had been the one that connected us with the caseworker in the first place. And so she called back like 10 minutes after she had connected us and said, so are you taking them? And I said, well, we just said yes. However, we need to call them back and say no. So she kind of called in this like moment of like, oh shit. And she goes, don't feel bad. It's fine. Just call her back and explain what's going on, and it's fine. Don't feel bad. Okay? You need to do what's best for you. That's what she's there for, right? She's there to take care of us and make sure that we're happy being foster parents so that we continue to be foster parents. So I called the caseworker back and I said, I'm really sorry and I feel horrible doing this. And guys, keep in mind, this is the second time in one day that I had to tell a caseworker no. Or that we're changing our minds, like take it back. Like, so take that guilt I already had and like multiply it by 2. And so I told this caseworker and, okay. So I told this caseworker, I'm really sorry, but we can't do it. So Bert just texted me. Okay. He said I can share what kind of a little bit more what happened. And I'm like, I was not going to, so that's why I'm getting a little emotional here. Because it's very vulnerable of Bert to be letting me talk about this. I said to the caseworker, I'm sorry, my husband's having a panic attack. We can't take the kids tonight. We have to take care of ourselves first. And she said, don't worry, he doesn't have to have a panic attack because you guys aren't actually licensed to take a 4-year-old. Our license is only 5 to 11. So, So it didn't work out anyway. Now, I had talked the next day. I talked to our foster parent advocate, and she said, "Well, all we would have had to do is call our licensing worker, and they would have cleared that up the same night if we, really wanted to take the kids." But the caseworker was just like, "Nope, time to move on. I'm not dealing with you guys. I'm not dealing with changing the age, whatever." So it was like, it was kind of crazy. It obviously wasn't meant to be in that moment. But yeah, what happened was it was a very weird thing that happened. So we said yes, and Bert jumped up and he started preparing the house. Right. Now, when we said yes, the licensing or the caseworker said, "Okay, I have to go and check on your license. This is like the standard procedure to make sure that we're clear to take the kids." So in that time, and it was not a lot of time, Bert's rushing around and kind of moving things off the table, tidying up the house and making sure, like there's nothing out that, little kids shouldn't, be, like touching. Like I've been working in the living room. There were tools on the table, sharp objects, there was a nail gun. And, he's moving things around and kind of going all over the place. And I can tell he's just not right. And I said, "Bert, sit down. Like, what's going on?" And he starts having these very, it was in his body. He was shaking. He was like, his face, I've never seen his face like this. I've never seen him do this before. And I recognized it right away because I've been there. I've had my own panic attacks. And I said, "Babe, you're having a panic attack." And his breathing was changing and he slumped to the floor and he was hugging his knees in, and he was just, he was overwhelmed with what was going on. And in that moment, I was like, "We're not doing this." And I said, "Should we do this?" And he goes, "No, we shouldn't do this." So that was what happened, so that we knew we had made a mistake saying yes in that moment. We needed to take care of ourselves. Okay. Yeah. And when I shared that information with our our foster care advocate, she actually goes, "Are you sure it's just a panic attack? Are you sure it's not a heart attack? Make sure you take care of him. If he needs to go to the hospital, like take him if there's something serious going on here." And Amy is saying that too. Yeah, panic attacks can actually be painful physically. And I think I could see the discomfort, and luckily, it was something that I was able to help him with his breathing, calm down. I tried to ask a few questions to try and get him to break the cycle of whatever was going on that was causing him to have this reaction. Which was thankful actually to that support group that I had joined with the therapist. It was like about in these moments where we're like stuck, we have to try and think of something outside of where we are in order to kind of break it. But thank you guys. Yeah, Christy, I appreciate the hearts, and Marcus, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Bert, for letting me share that. Again, I wasn't going to. That was a very personal moment. It was and as Bert described it, later, he was embarrassed, and he had never experienced something like that before, and it was scary for both of us. And I think, more so for him. I knew he would be okay. And I remember saying in the moment, I said, "Babe, I know you're going to be okay, and I know we can do this, and you just can't see it right now." And I think that is in different words, something that someone had said to me in a moment where I was feeling that way. And that's what helped me get through. So it's, if you ever witness somebody going through this, if you can say to them in some iteration of that it can be a helpful thing to say, "I know you can't see it right now, but I can. You're going to be okay." And it's not dismissive. It's just helping them realize that this is temporary. And it's okay to feel like this, and it's okay to be in that moment, and let it ride out. It's going to be okay. So Bert went to bed. Before I did that night, I had a lot of work still to do, preparing for the busy week, the big festival or event that I was working. Bert went to bed, and then the next morning I had to get up super early, so I didn't even really get to talk to him much in the morning. But I messaged him later, and I said, "How are you feeling?" And he goes, still not great, still a little shaken up about, what happened. But I'm really proud of him. He went for a run which is not what Bert normally does. So he went for a run to clear his head, to feel a little bit better. And he said it helped. So there's another thing too, if you ever experience this, overwhelming sense, of not being quite right, not feeling like yourself, going for a run can help get things kind of reset, get that energy out. So yeah, guys. So that's the very real story of what happened last week, when we had to make two calls in one day to not take the kids that they had asked us to take. So it was a lot. You see some more comments coming up here. I hate running if I'm not chasing a ball, Bert says. Yeah. And he's kind of a lazy soccer player sometimes too. Oh, just kidding, babe. Yeah, and Marcus is saying, yeah, sport can help a lot. All right, guys. Yeah, support. They kind of go together. So sport is a support. All right. So I'm a little I'm a bit tired physically, emotionally, and then the past 4 days I have been getting up at 5 a.m. and then been walking in sand for 12 hours, coming home, washing all the dishes and rags from running all the bars at the AVP tournament, and then and then taking a shower and going to bed, and hopefully getting in bed by 11 so I could get 6 hours of sleep. The first night that happened, someone decided to have a party in front of our house in the street, blaring music and dancing at 3 a.m. This has never happened before. Why on earth does it happen the night that I desperately need as much of that sleep as possible? So that was a little bit of a disruption. I did not sleep very well. The next night, same thing. Bert's not home. He's up with some friends, and I get a good night's sleep there, but again, it's the same cycle. Up at 5 a.m., do all this walking in the sand, and then cleaning the dishes and cleaning the rags and stuff, packing it all up in the morning to go back. A lot of heavy lifting of cases of beer and alcohol. And guys, I had to go shopping every night because we ran out of limes because the margaritas were so popular. It was great. It was a success in the fact that people loved the drinks we were serving, but it was a lot for one manager, and I couldn't sleep last night after all of it was over, and all I wanted to do was go to bed early and just sleep until my body was completely rested. I laid in bed just beating myself up about all the things I could have done better. And I hate this. I hate it because I did a good job. I know I did a good job, but there were little things all sprinkled throughout the whole entire event that I wish that I had done better. And I hate feeling like that. And it makes me feel like I'm not capable, which is crazy because I can't even think of someone else doing as much of that I did, I know it sounds like I'm tooting my horn at the same time as me really saying I didn't do it. It's so complicated, and I feel just emotionally exhausted. So from that and the fostering and just trying to reset and get back to a base level so that I can just try to function when I have to go back to the office tomorrow. It's a lot, and I'm trying really hard. And and it's crazy. Thank you for saying this, Marcus, but it's so weird sometimes when I feel like this and people say, Lynn, you're doing a good job, or Lynn, you're awesome. And I have to fix my bangs here. I can't, it doesn't register when people say that. It's I can't be reassured in the moment. I have to kind of get there myself. I certainly don't share how I'm feeling for someone to be like, Lynn, stop feeling like that. You're great. It has to be I don't know. I have to get there, and I'm getting there. And then on top of all this, there was a fallout from last night. After the event was over, I had clocked everyone out, and then someone left their backpack behind, and apparently he had cash in it, and then he went back, and his bag was gone, the cash was gone, and it just was a horrible way to end all of our hard work and what was such a great event. And I was so worried about this all day long, trying to help him locate his bag and his, the money he left in there and everything. So it's really hard managing, what was it, 18 different people across the 4 days that don't normally work for me. They've worked for me throughout the year at events, but they're not my regular contacts throughout the week. I'm not in constant communication with them It is like a special event that I have to train them on site and try and manage all those different personalities on top of making sure that we have enough limes, and that the limes get squeezed. Oh my God. I'm fine. It's going to be fine. I think I need to take another day off tomorrow, to be honest. I think I might do that. And I think my boss will totally understand. It's just, there's reports that have to be done now for the event. Oh, with these bangs, I can't go wrong. Exactly. I got to keep fixing my bangs and move on. So we have a question here. Can we let go of the guilt? Yes, the guilt does subside. I think by talking about the reasons that we said no, and then after the incident on Wednesday night, we were able to talk about why that happened. And so the second time that we said no, we were able to understand that, and we were able to make sense of it, and the guilt wasn't as bad. Letting go of the guilt of the first one, I guess that kind of came naturally when the second one came and we went through all that. So I don't know. Do I still have guilt now? A tiny bit, yeah, because I wonder if they actually did go to a better place. I have a lot of guilt if they got split up, is it better to be together with your sister in, in a home that's not that great, or split up and put in a place where someone can kind of take you under their wing and be like, yeah, I know how to do your hair, I know how to take care of skin, I know how to be part of your culture, we're going to go to church, and all these things that they can already relate to, rather than it being forced for us to learn it enough to be in it with them. So I think that we were able to justify our actions, and the guilt kind of it's going away, it'll go away. Okay. My mom asked, how did the limes get squeezed? So we started off with a lime squeezer, like a machine, which is awesome if you ever want to make orange juice at home, fresh squeezed orange juice for breakfast. But when you have to squeeze 800 limes, yeah, that machine's not fast enough. So we broke the machine on the first day or the second morning. It was early on in the event. So I ended up buying hand squeezers, but that's what bar backs are for. And while I probably squeezed 250 limes myself, I also had other people that were helping me with the limes. But we squeezed probably a gallon and a half of limes, at least, maybe 2 gallons of lime juice from limes. And then those lime, then there were a ton of other limes that we had to cut into, to slices. So I think there were 1,200 slices made, and probably two gallons, if not more, lime juice. It was pretty bad. Yeah, and there, there's bigger, fancier machines out there, but the problem is the cost of those machines are $3,000, and it doesn't justify the cost of, the margaritas we were making. So it was okay for what we did. It was fine, because it's not like we just sat there squeezing constantly. It was hey, we need to do a batch now. Hey, we need to do a batch, in another 3 or 4 hours. We got through it, and I got better at figuring out the cycle of when we would need lime juice. I also learned a lot about where to find lime juice in the grocery store. So, and also that fresh squeezed is way better than the stuff you get in the bottle. So if you're using, a little bit of it for cooking or whatever, I really do recommend using a fresh lime versus the stuff in the bottle, because the stuff in the bottle is they have to preserve it somehow. And so it's a little bit more chemically tasting. And I did find that there's actually organic lime juice too, in the organic aisle at the grocery store. I ended up getting that, and that ended up working okay too. Still not as good as fresh squeezed, but it's closer than the stuff in the green bottles, that you'll buy in the produce section or in the juice aisle. So anyway, pro tip there about lime juice. I was actually going to keep today's live stream pretty short, because I'm working on the living room again, trying to finish up our posts in there, and they're looking really good. And today I actually made really good miter cuts. I'm proud of those. So trying to focus on the things that bring me joy, and working on my table saw lately has been bringing me joy. I also have a pizza out there with pineapple and ham, and that's delicious. So I'm going to go eat that. I really appreciate you guys hanging in there, accepting my appearance today as it is. I have not showered today. I am, I'm just I'm going to reset tomorrow. Maybe I'll take a nice long soak tonight. I'm not entirely sure what my night looks like. Bert wants to watch the newest Jurassic World, which you can now stream for free on I'm not sure what channel, but if you're into the Jurassic series, Jurassic Park series, there's that. So that's what we're gonna do. Thank you guys again for all your support. I'm sure that next week we'll have new updates about things. Well, I'm sure the right timing will happen where we can actually take foster kids that are in the preferred age range that we are originally signed up for. But yeah, and also kind of funny thing. So when the caseworker, had said you guys aren't approved, you're only licensed from 5 to 11. I said, well, that's kind of funny because our licensing worker just put us in the system up to 16 so we could take those teenagers. So I have to get that all sorted out anyway. But anyway, thank you. I'm glad you can't smell me from that side. Amy, thank you for hanging in there and getting the updates and always being around to hear the story. I appreciate it. You guys have an awesome Labor Day, and I will see you next Monday. Thanks for hanging out. Bye. Oh, no music. Here we go. There's music. There it is. Oh, this is the silly music. Hold on. Oh, I don't know that anyone watches the credits really anyway. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mom. Oh, Marcus. Love you too. Appreciate it. Oh, Dad. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys.